Afternoon, members, officers and members of the public. My name is John Cater, Clerk to the committee. The public element of today's meeting is being recorded in line with the City Corporation's policies, and the recording shall be retained for up to 1 year. Chairman.
Welcome everybody, and welcome everybody online. I'd like to take this opportunity quickly to welcome two new members, Anne Holmes and Susil Saluja, who should be here. I saw them for lunch. We have got some apologies, but I also wanted to apologise for the late start of this meeting, 1:30. Some months ago, I had to cede order priority to the General Purposes Committee at the Court of Aldermen, and so they took priority. We'll obviously have to take that into account if they ever dare to send us a request for an increased budget or something. But anyhow, I do apologise. We are now on a 12:45 from now on. Thank you.
Chairman, apologies.
Chairman, can I apologise for having to leave the meeting in 15 minutes now, because it clashes with streets and walkways.
Understood. We haven't got a number of members leaving early anyhow, Tim. We should be able to get through this quite quickly. I think quarter
not in 15 minutes.
Not in 15 minutes.
Chairman, item 1, apologies. I've received formal apologies from Shannon Back, Nicholas Benstead Smith, Simon Duckworth, Steve Goodman, Alderwoman Martha Grekos, Deputy Benjamin Murphy, and Deputy James Thompson. I'm aware, though, Ben Murphy and I think Mr. Duckworth were joining us today via Teams.
Thank you.
I think Sandra Jenner should have had apologies from her.
Thank you, Mr. Hogg.
Let's keep going, time up.
Item 2, Chair, are the declaration.
No new declarations, I'm assuming. No, thank you.
Chairman, item 3, the minutes of our previous meeting on the 1st of July 2025 for decision, pages 7 through 14.
Members, we have one very small change to page 11, the bottom, the last line. The word should read, to identify £10 million of income generation are underway. That's a change. Those efforts are underway. We'll probably pick up income generation later, but subject only to that change. Are you happy to accept the minutes? Thank you. And I just pick up one point. If you look at paragraph 6, we did agree the new P3 procurement framework that went to court. Thank you for your support at our request and the chairman's request, and the court also agreed that the tiering numbering system will change around. Other than that, it went through unchanged. I must just urge any members who can go to the briefings on the new procurement code. It probably would be worth your while. They're taking place in between now and November. Thank you. And I'd also like to make a second point. Mr. Hogg very kindly picked up the issue of length of papers. I've again stressed to officers that what I really would like to get to is certainly the starting papers, the summary and the recommendation. I want on 2 pages only, and the main report can go on the rest. So I'm really hoping that will help us focus our efforts. Subject to that, are we happy to accept the minutes? Thank you.
Chairman, item 4 is the Finance Committee's forward plan report with Chamberlain for information, page 15.
Members, 2 changes on this. If you look at December 25, we're going to include an audit review of the purchase cards, which was picked up as a question recently. That will come up in the review of financial controls. If you remember, the internal auditors were happy, but not that happy with the process, so they have undertaken to conduct a review on that. And I've also asked to add into that work programme, there should be a draft report, certainly relating to the Barbican Centre 10-year plan. So that ought to go onto that work programme. Other than that, that is what it is. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 5 is the public update of the Projects and Procurement Subcommittee meeting on the 4th of September for information. I
think on behalf of the chairman, there was nothing public mentioned of that subcommittee. I will ask the chairman to pick up some comments in the non-public session, but I think probably, unless he says anything different, which he's not, I can see him on screen. Can we just note there was no material discussion of public items at that meeting? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. We turn now to item 6, City Fund and Pension Fund Statement of Accounts, report of the Chamberlain for information.
Thank you. Apologies for the late production of these accounts. I would just also like to congratulate our Chamberlain staff for getting this done, because this is a bit of a nightmare, this process. We are on track to complete these and sign them off by the 30th of September. I just wanted to pay tribute to the staff because it's a pretty thankless task getting accounts done. I'm going to move over very quickly to the Chamberlain or Sonia just to pick up any comments. These were seen by audit and Risk Committee yesterday. They had no material comments to make. And I've seen both the chairman, their chairman who spoke to me a couple of hours ago. But Sonia, can I just ask you to summarise any other comments to raise?
Thank you, Chair. Just considering the timescales that the Audit and Risk Committee had to review the accounts and also challenge, they did actually provide a very good challenge to my team. So just the few things that they sort of picked up was around, can we look at the timescales of making sure that they've got more time to do that? We are working with the town clerks to see, can we move the date closer to the end of September, because September is our deadline and we want to make sure we've got the best picture within the report that goes to them on an annual basis. The three areas that they picked up was around the significant adjustments that have been put through the account since the last time they saw them. One of them is the pension adjustment. That's a £90 million adjustment. It's a very highly complex adjustment that was put through, and the auditors were able to explain what that is. And actually, this is something that my team are now learning from, and there will be additional training provided to ensure that that doesn't happen going forward. The other two areas was IFRS 16. That is a new lease standard which has been released for 24-25, and again training is going to be put into place to ensure we don't make those errors again. And asset under construction, again a very highly complex area. The other points to note was around the improvements my team have actually made since we've gone through our journey of the backlog of accounts, and also addressing the recommendations under the audit findings report. Members were provided the information that there was 13 recommendations at the start and now only 5 outstanding, so huge progress made considering the backlog of works. The value for money also, there was 25 improvements across the corporation, 16 have been addressed and 4 have been superseded. The one that I just wanted to highlight, which the auditors also highlighted, was the significant risk around HRA, the recommendation on that. And this is around the improvements of works and general financial health and HRA going forward. And I know the Chamberlains wanted to say a few words around that. Chamberlain.
Thank you very much, Chairman. On the HRA, members will obviously be aware of the court resolution about the improvement works that are needed. So this isn't about the improvement works that we are working through the financing plans, which will come back to committee in October, and we've made excellent progress on finding the funding for that. This is about the fragility of the ongoing housing revenue account and the state of reserves at the moment. And members, you will see from the budget monitoring report, when you get into the Q1 budget monitoring report, that the HRA is overspending. So this is a matter of significant concern. It is critical. It is something that I've been flagging within the budget reports to court. And this you'll see in the management response to this, that we are taking a very strong line on how we get the recovery plan for the HRA on track. So a 10-year recovery plan, looking at the 30-year asset strategy, ensuring we can finance the repairs and maintenance, and also make sure that we've got the right support network in the housing team to be able to carry out. And members, you'll be aware that there is a housing inspection as well at the moment. So there's a lot to do in this space. You can expect to see more reports on it and on the proposals as to how we go forward. But of course, the auditors are also flagging the fragility of it within the VFM conclusion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Any questions? I think the fragility of the HRA is no surprise to anyone. In terms of just this paper and the accounts, did anybody have any detailed questions? I'm hoping not. Otherwise, we should just agree to give to delegate. Adam, what do you want to say?
It's not a detailed question. In the summary, there are references to 5 appendices. I spent the whole of yesterday trying to find them. Were they attached to us?
Can somebody answer that?
I think it's 4 auditors report, but I'll ask the team to confirm in each one is an appendix. Is that right?
No.
As far as I'm aware, I went through them and found them because I was trying to track them yesterday in audit and risk, and they're quite difficult to actually find in the pack, which I think could be a note for the future when we put it
Just
through
like
to
that,
members. If
yes.
we can put the appendix as a
Separate item.
the header.
Okay.
Can I accept that I'm incompetent, not mad? Thank you very much.
And Sonia, perhaps you just offline, just tell them. Thank you. Subject to that point, are we happy to recommend these accounts and give delegated authority to myself and the chairman to sign them off, subject to no material changes? And I think the same applies to the chairman and deputy chairman of the Audit and Risk Committee. Will also have to do their homework. We happy? Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 7, City Limited Performance Monitoring Report of the Chamberlain for information, page 17.
We haven't got the corporate treasurer here, so I thought I'd just summarise. This is a pretty straightforward paper. City Re is the captive that insures our property insurances. It's been quite a successful venture. It's based in Guernsey, where the experience for managing captives exists. Really, I just make two points. If you look at the dividends, if we hadn't set up a captive, we wouldn't have received these dividends. It has worked out quite well in that respect. We have been a bit more robust now in setting, I think, the IBNR in future. I've been pushing that quite hard. For those who are insurance based, it's quite important to secure the balance sheet. It remains as a property only insurer because it's short tail. I commend the accounts to the committee. My only comment was it is quite insurance based, this. Technically, the chairman should have an alternate. I was just going to mention that I haven't even spoken to the deputy chairman, but I just wonder whether we should think about the alternate being somebody who does have a background in insurance. It does seem to be, if I'm suddenly run under a bus, it would be helpful, I think, to get somebody to come in at short notice who does understand how insurance works. I just put it out there as a thought. There's a few nods, but I think I'm not looking for a decision. I just thought I'd air the point to you. Thank you. Are we happy to note that paper in that respect? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 8 is the Central London Forward Grant Receipts and Programme Delivery report of the Executive Director of Innovation and Growth for decision, pages 21 through 56.
I got incredibly excited by this paper, which says it's a single paper now in the interest of efficiency, which I thought was wonderful. So I thought we should put it through immediately. I think it makes quite good sense here. Essentially, what is being proposed is that all these come through to a single paper, Central London Forward, which will get tabled by the Finance Committee before the March 26 budget and thereafter annually. It makes far more sense. Shadi is here to answer any questions, but does anybody have any questions on the concept? We know Central London Forward, we run this essentially on behalf of a number of London councils. If we got no questions, I'm happy to put it through. James.
Just one question for broader understanding, Chairman, because this paper looks very different to other papers, primarily because it doesn't have the standard, and I thought de facto mandatory front sheet that sort of helps you understand what, as a member, you're meant to grasp. Now, you get a lot of that on the second page. There's a summary structure that's somewhat similar, but can we not at least still have that sort of front page that helps us glean the core information rather than having to read 32 pages and try and understand exactly what we've been asked to do? Thank you.
I totally agree with you. I was looking for that front page and then found it on the second page. I think that's probably a typo, I suspect, but I think the answer is yes, we should keep consistency across the board. Shadi, will that be possible in future? Okay, thank you. Any more questions, or can we approve that? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Item 9 is the Investment Governance Update, the Joint Report of the City Surveyor and the Town Clerk for decision, page 57.
This is really just tidying up our homework in terms of increasing the thresholds for reporting to court to a figure of 20 million. I think it is literally just good housekeeping and good governance, and it's been approved by the Investment Committee. Can we agree it? Thank you.
Chairman, item 10, the Budget Monitoring for Q1, report of the Chamberlain for information, page 63.
I think this is for you, Chamberlain, I think.
I think Sonia and Daniel.
Okay.
Daniel, do you lead?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so this is the Q1 budget monitoring report for City Funded Cities Estate. Members might notice that we have slightly adjusted the format this time to take back feedback of the committee. So trying to put more of a summary up front with the detail in the appendices behind. So the commentary on individual narratives is still there, but it's within the appendices rather than in the main body of the report, as you may have seen previously. Key messages coming out are kind of fairly consistent with what we've seen in previous monitoring reports, that being that the local risk budgets are under more pressure and are being supported by additional income that we're generating through the kind of balances held and the investments. One thing to note for this report, because this is Q1, since the end of that quarter, we have had some subsequent decisions, including the carry forward amounts being agreed. That will mean that when we come to Q2, a number of these pressures that you see in some of the areas will be addressed. So this is the information as at presented at Q1, but there are a number of areas, for example, the HR pressure that you see in there, there has subsequently been carry forward and transformation funding approved that will reduce that down in the Q2 report. So just to kind of note those two areas. The Chamber has already mentioned the pressure on the HRA, which we're highlighting in this report, given the pressures also highlighted by the auditors. We're obviously going to keep ensuring that that is very visible to all of the corporations so that they can see where the where the outturn is likely to be, given the tight level of reserves that are remaining after the 24-25 year end. Happy to take any further questions on the report.
Any questions, Michael?
The short step you can and I'm glad you mentioned the HR.
Sorry, Sir Michael, could you turn your microphone?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. I should have done that. Do you? You don't need me to start all over again, do you? I don't think so. No. There are any questions, but the HR Chief People Officer, where it's 2.7 million, you did mention some of that in terms of bringing forward. I think you said carry forward, but it means bringing forward from the previous period. I don't know how much, and it's going to reduce it, but nevertheless, it's still quite significant. The police, obviously, there's another 1 million there, and the city surveyor, 400,000. There are explanations and so on, but all I would say is from a relatively long history of looking at these things, and I know I'm now going to be very unpopular with the Barbican Centre board, but this is probably the fourth, with the 250 million that we're going to pump in. This is about the fourth time we've had a situation which needs a load of money going into the Barbican, because all of the money the previous money has been spent on artistic development or whatever it is, and that also is the case often with GSMD, I've got to say, and I just think we ought to be very well aware of this, because it will repeat itself. Well, it is already repeating itself, with sort of optimistic views of ticket receipts, for example, but the costs never being lower than they were, or even higher than they were originally budgeted. The last point I want to just mention on the major projects, I think we've got to be really careful, and I'm sure the Chairman of Policy will agree with this last one, but if you look on page 79, item 21, Museum of London, and it says it's already putting in, though there is a risk that the corporation will need to jointly underwrite alongside the GLA. Well, we shouldn't be. We poured in hundreds of millions of pounds one way and another to this. We've got to be really careful about that, and equally, it says just below it, sorry to continue the Barbican theme, that there's 40 million of fundraising target that we may need to underwrite. And I just think we've got to be very hard about this, because otherwise, effectively, we just increase the budgets. No, thank you, Mike. Just in terms of the carry forwards, I'm just going to repeat a couple of things, Michael. I think HRA is clearly something we've got to get to grips with. The Barbican Centre, I tend not to go to sleep about at night when I think about it. So that's why I've asked for a 10-year plan. It's a really, really important point. However much one wants to support it, I think we've just got to get that right. In terms of the Museum in London, we made it very clear at the last meeting, if there was a request for money from the Museum in London, it would only be made on a commercial loan basis. And there's no, I think the Finance Committee was adamant to a point that there shouldn't be no further grant for that. Chris?
Really, just on that point, Chairman, and I do agree and endorse what you and the committee have said, that it should be on a, if there was a request, it would be on a commercial loan basis. Just on the fundraising target that Sir Michael mentioned, my understanding is that the museum will achieve that, or
Sorry,
you
the
know,
fundraising was Barbican Renewal.
oh, sorry, the Barbican. Sorry, my understanding, only from Sir William, it has to be said, but
No conflict of interest there then.
that wasn't supposed to raise a laugh, but anyway, that they will achieve it. They've been very clear, and we've made it very clear to them that they have to achieve it. So I recognise that ultimately we have to potentially be the underwriter of last resort, but hopefully that won't be the case.
No, okay, thank you. And the Barbican Centre is very much work in progress. I think, you know, any Chairman, is there any point you want to make about the carry forwards, or we just they'll catch up next time around, I assume?
They're brought forwards in this.
They brought the okay.
So Chairman, I think one of the things that I would say is that both GSMD and Barbican are working extremely hard to bring that pressure down. They're working with their senior management team to ensure that you actually understand. And the way my team are now presenting the information is a lot more slicker, it's dashboard, they get a better understanding of it. And obviously there's been a huge amount of work that's been put into place to do that. The other thing I've also mentioned is that we are now doing an escalation process. So if they don't rein things back, it would get escalated to myself. If I can't be successful, it will go to the Chamberlain, and then furthermore, it will go to the Chairman. So we are taking it very seriously. The Chairman and Chairman of Policy was very clear that on GSMD, they have had 3 years of funding. Next year, they need to be balanced. And again, I know Jonathan is working extremely hard with his team to make sure that is happening going forward as well.
Thank you. Chairman, do you want to add anything?
I was just going to add that this committee has a working working group, the Efficiency and Performance Working Group that scrutinises it. So the Barbican 10-year plan will go there before it comes back here, and then no doubt there'll be another review once the comments from Finance Committee have been taken on board, and with Guildhall School the same issue as well. I know that the Managing Director is looking very carefully at the levers that can be pulled on this, and there are some. Conscious we're in public session.
Yeah, no.
Yes, there are some on that we can.
Okay, so I think on both things, you've got a clear view of where members' focus is, and there's obviously going to be a number of turns of the wheel before we end up with a conclusion. So, James, you've got a hand partly up.
Yes, Chairman, I was reticent on this, but since Sir Michael's opened the door, I just wanted to ask one question.
Sorry.
and to see what your reaction is. So my illustrative point, because I don't grasp the numbers as well as the accountants on the table, but I was intrigued on page 77 in relation to the Barbican Centre, where at the back end of paragraph A, where they talk about the tight controls on spending continuing. But I'm very nervous as a lawyer when the next sentence begins with the word however. And what I wanted to understand, Chairman, is that given what we've heard, and it's nice to know that everyone's being very firm and very clear, is it because this is an informational report? Do we, through you, need to do anything to help send that message firmly on the record of what we're expecting? Thank you, Chair.
Well, I think by making your point, you now put it on the record anyhow. I think, yes, I mean, the whole point, well, I've pushed very hard for the Barbican Centre to come to efficiency performance first, because I said you need some informal but quite robust forensic criticism about whatever they do put forward. I think at this moment it's too early to say from my perspective. I haven't seen anything, but you know, I'm really clear that this we need to have a really realistic and well thought through 10-year plan, and they've got to be very clear that there is no endless pot of money here in City Fund to be able to carry on supporting Barbican Centre. And I certainly made that point to taxpayers last February as well. So I think we're all pretty much in the same place, but I think it's probably too early to go into any further detail at the moment, because I think they're still working on it. I don't know if that gives you the answer, but I'm very clear, and that we must, as a finance committee, put them on their mettle.
Thank you, Chair. I think you did, provided the colleague to the left is taking a note of what you've said and it'll somehow get in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver.
On a similar related topic, could I ask a question and make one comment? High risk building under the regulations, it's said that it's not likely to impact the plan. There is another building which is subject to development, 65 Fleet Street, which is a high risk building under the Grenfell laws. And it looks as though it's going to add a year's work and very large percentage of additional cost to that building. And there is a risk, it seems to me, which we need to look at in relation to the Barbican too. I don't know how people are familiar with the grading that's now in place for high risk buildings, but it's very formidable bureaucratic increase of work and time. And it's going to have a major impact on the Barbican. And the second point I wanted to make was this. It doesn't seem to me entirely clear where the oversight of this project lies. It appears largely to lie within the Barbican board itself. Is that really a satisfactory long-term arrangement that they're able to effectively mark their own homework as they proceed? And why doesn't it fall into the major projects, because it plainly is a major project, with the supervision that lies within other places such as CBB?
I'm not qualified to comment on the high-rise building. I don't know who best is. In terms of the governance, I think, Oliver, point is understood, but I think we should just wait for this 10-year plan to decide how best to do it. And Ginny.
On the high risk buildings, absolutely is a risk that's being managed by the programme, and in the programme board, that is one of the key areas that we are updating on. We don't have one of the actual programme lead here, but there is very much a risk that is live on the register and one that is being actively managed.
Thank you.
I just wanted to alert you, if you look at 65 Fleet Street, which is a current development that you will know about, they have discovered that they fall into that category, and it's causing them major increases in delay and cost. And you're going to have the same thing at the Barbican.
Well, I think we somehow, if we amend that, we need to make sure that's fed through to the team who are putting together a business plan. It seems to me that's what we should do at the moment. Andrew, you had a comment.
Thank you, Chad. It's on a slightly different subject, but I don't know if Sir Michael wants to come in to keep the current conversation going.
I was just going to say on the governance thing, with absolutely no axe to grind personally, that I think that, frankly, the way it's been set up at the moment, that the Barbican is going to run that project itself, is wrong. Now, I can't remember the exact procedure of how that got to there. I presume it went through P&R, but I think that ought to be revisited. I truly do, because it was set up to do major projects, so there wouldn't be this, the service committee dealing with it themselves, where there needs to be that challenge and separation. So I would just make a plea that this gets revisited, even if it is sending a request from finance to P&R to look at it, although the chairman of P&R is here.
Well, I think that's where it's got to end up. I think we should note the points, wait for this plan to come forward, and that's clearly something that the P&R can discuss when the time is right.
There is in the reporting at the moment, the reporting to policy and finance, I believe, which we can cross-check, but that might be the opportune moment as things go through the governance that's currently been agreed to reflect.
We can pick it up. Yeah, I think we best leave it there. I think with points been well made, I think we should leave it there. But thank you, Andrew. You got a different point.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So it's to do with point 12, page 70. Which is specifically looking at capital forecasting. Just for the benefit of the committee, I don't know if officers want to touch on the bit which says there's a projected overspend of 76 million, or the life of the project that has not been factored into the medium-term financial plan. So maybe officers can give members of this committee an update as to where we are with that, because we know work's in progress.
Sonia.
So yes, Chairman. So these are the major projects that have been highlighted under the HRA, which we are, as the Chamberlain had mentioned earlier on, that we are looking at how this is funded going forward, and it will be coming back to this committee in October. Unfortunately, at the time of writing the report, we didn't have all the details. We do have them to be presented back in October.
Okay, so that's coming back. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Chairman, are you happy with that answer? Just can I take us back just to the previous discussion, just briefly, and encourage members.
You're on the Barbican now, again.
On the Barbican, particularly. This is an incredible project for the City of London and a great opportunity, and with risks. But I think if we're discussing criticism of its government structure, we should be doing so in the private session. I think this is something that should be sorted out.
No, I agree.
Agreed and moved. I think as it is, it's a fantastic structure as it is.
I don't want to get there, Paul, because this is a finance committee, but I think we made the points, and I think it's down to policy to revisit at the stage. Okay, thank you. Are we happy to note that report? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Turning to item 11, the Chamberlain's Business Plan Q1 report of Chamberlain for information, page 85.
Chairman, did you want to comment on this, or Janine?
Thank you very much, Chairman. So members, just one thing to highlight, which is on the income generation work stream, which links to the minutes that members you discussed earlier. So it's red on the work stream, so flagging that not as much progress has been made as we would have liked. Now the income generation working group is in place under policy and resources. We're making real headway. Some of the work streams are progressing very well, like the Natural Environment Charities Review and the work we're doing on various other areas that are mentioned in the report. It was the advertising work stream, which was the one that members were really keen to see progressed, and that the proposal on that is going to policy and resources this month. Janine, was there anything else you'd like to add? Thanks.
No, I think that covers it. Thank you.
I think we just wish it well and keep on up the good work. Can we, James?
Well, thank you, Chairman. I mean, we're asked to agree the risk appetite, the detail of which is principally in the secondary pack.
I think you've jumped
Next item, I believe, Chairman. Yes, this item.
I think you jumped page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, have I apologised?
Okay. Let's move on to 12 then.
Chairman,
Well, we're going to get a question.
Item 12, the risk management update report for decision, page 89. I would alert members to the non-public appendix in Mr. Tunbridge's comments just now at item 26.
So barring the fact that we're going to pick up risk appetite in non-public, Caroline, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think it's just when we get, as we're in public session, we'll pick up the non-public items, but just to say there that the funds are different, and that I think we can say in public session that we are treating them differently when it comes to the appetite. Obviously, the local authority has a local authority framework around it, and a prudential code, and it's taxpayers' money, city's estate. There's more leeway with, so we can pick up on that in the non-public.
Okay, and there's no surprise about the two risks on 6 and 7, which are two
they're
ratings.
largely unchanged. So, yeah.
Are we happy to note that and pick up the risk appetite in non-public? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Turning to item 13, Central Contingencies report of the Chamberlain, page 93.
Who wants to? Janine's got a request on this, but is there anything else, Chamberlain or Sonia or Janine? 13. I've got.
No,
Okay, Chris. I got one. There's one request. Janine, you want to add? That's what I thought. Yes. Sorry, Chris.
That's right, Chairman. Thank you. I just wanted to understand with contingencies, if they are unspent at the end of the fiscal year, do they roll forward?
I think in the past they have done. I'm quite keen to put an end to that practice, so we start again.
I think, Chairman, you actually took a bit out of it and put it back into reserves last year. Yes, I think you wanted to lead by example,
Yeah,
Chairman.
no,
I think that was it.
It's in my mind, Chris. I think we should start again. I think it's a much healthier process. In that case, Jean, I think you got a sort of advance proposal for delegated authority to come from contingency. Do you want to quickly summarise what it is? It's 270,000 I've got.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So my request is for delegated authority to the Town Clerk in conjunction with the Chair and Deputy Chair to agree the allocation of 270,000 from the Project Contingency Fund, which is required to fund the additional resources needed for the continued procurement improvement programme. So we had quite a frank discussion in confidential at the last Projects and Procurement Subcommittee, where I set out some of the challenges that we've been experiencing around moving forward at pace, around some of the priority areas, particularly around renewing our procurement governance framework and allowing us to exploit the freedoms that are available to us under the new Procurement Act 2023. So the request will fund a number of additional resources. One of the key challenges that we are struggling with right now is that we are caught in a bit of a paradox where we do not have the capacity for people to lead the change on top of doing their day job. But we know that these transformational change that we can make will absolutely lead to long-term release of capacity and now enable us to be more productive and to kind of shift resources to more value-adding work and getting out the transactional work. But we need a little bit of kind of extra resource in order to get there. And my request is contingent on me tabling an updated improvement plan to Projects and Procurement Sub at their meeting on the 14th of October. But it's just so that we can have this delegation in place. So if they are happy with that improvement plan, then the resources can be allocated.
But it'll go through the delegated authority process anyway. So what you've just said quite quickly is going to come in writing in the request for authority. I mean, that's the point, I think. So a request for 270,000, so that there's no surprises, is going to go to PP&C and then probably to myself and Andrew for approval under the normal delegated authority process, and therefore don't be surprised if you see that as an agreement. Okay. Are we happy to note that? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Turning now to item 14, questions and matters related to the work of the committee or in public.
Do we have any questions? Public? No. I've got no other business I consider urgent. Thank you.
Chairman. Item 16, it's the exclusion of the public. Are members consent to exclude the public at this point?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, gratefully switch off the live feed, please.